Okay, greetings everybody and welcome to our Revolution East Bay first meeting of 2024. This is going to be a wild year, I think. It's starting out that way. So we have a lot of stuff going on today. We have 3 candidates coming from the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, District 5. Greg Hodge, Ben Bartlett, and Nikki Fortunato Bas. We have 1 candidate coming from Contra, Costa, also running for the District 5 out there, Shanelle Scales-Preston. Then we have a bunch of other stuff. We have a short fundraising pitch by our own Mark Van Landuyt. This is the time of year we need money, folks. Then we've got 2 bills coming up. One is an assembly bill about not having foreign money into our elections. Another is a local Berkeley school bill. We're also going to hear about closing Port Chicago. We're going to hear about the march in Washington coming up next weekend. We're going to hear about what's going on with People's Park. We're going to hear from our Revolution National Headquarters. And we're going to hear a little bit about healthcare. So it's going to be a busy meeting, folks. So is Nikki here yet? Can anybody see if she's here?
No, I don't see Nikki.
Muted.
Okay, Mark, do you want to do a fundraiser then?
I'll happy to do so. And I'll do one later too, because
Okay.
nothing helps better than redundancy. All right, everybody. It is that time of the year again, and it's time for everybody to renew our Revolution East Bay membership, pay your membership dues. And we are an organization, we're never pushy about this. We're never fundraising, our members every 3 seconds or anything like that. But we want you to know that every penny that you give goes to electing our endorsed candidates. And I mean every penny. There's no overhead with our Revolution East Bay. There's no staffers. All of us are volunteers. There's no office lease. There's no anything like that. And the reason why it's worth giving your pennies, your $27 to our Revolution East Bay, is because over 82% of our Revolution East Bay endorsed candidates get elected. Now, I want to repeat that. 82% of our endorsed candidates get elected. That is an extraordinary percentile by any organization. And we do it because of you. And we do it because of organizing. And it's done through, sheer hard work, canvassing neighborhoods, tabling at farmers markets, phone banking, texting. And we've been flexible. We've adapted to every circumstance. When COVID hit, we started doing social media ads. And now that's part of our strategy of persuasion and getting out the vote. And we've made the difference in so many crucial elections in the Bay Area. It's why Aisha Wahab was elected to state senate. It's why Pamela Price was elected to district attorney. And it's why our candidates are going to win in 2024. And so this is just the early 2024 reminder for everyone to renew your membership, pay your annual dues now. I think there'll probably be a PayPal account in the link in the chat, and go ahead and do it now because it makes a difference. We're making a difference. You're making a difference, and we're always grateful for everybody who's part of this extraordinary movement that has been impactful. I mean, where we are in terms of the national discourse on all of these issues is because of this movement, from foreign policy to domestic policy. Every issue that we're fighting right now, we are in such a better spot for victory than ever before. And so we got to keep growing this movement. And I so appreciate all of you always being here. And I appreciate all of our members. And for you early birds here at this meeting, you get to hear this pitch, but make sure you click on that link and renew your membership. So with that, I hand it back to Carol.
Okay, it's actually not a link.
Oh,
We're having trouble with our website. And so what you can do, you can go into PayPal directly and you pay Our Revolution East Bay and it comes into our account. Or you can send a check. Michael, at some point, could you put your address? Michael's the treasurer of Our Revolution East Bay. If somebody needs to send a check rather than do PayPal.
Can somebody put like sort of the recipe of how to do that PayPal into the chat, like, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3?
Yeah, I think Michael's doing that.
Cool. Cool.
Okay, so where are we at here? Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Make that contribution today.
Before the meeting's up. We're going to bug you all through the meeting. Count on that. Okay. I just want to mention one of the things that we do with money that we get from members. You get to vote for one thing if you're a member, a paid member, and have participated with us under certain circumstances. But one of the things that the money goes to is doing a voter guide. And I know I can't tell you how many times when I have been out at markets passing out voter guides of the people that we have endorsed, people are so glad to get that and see who the progressives are. And that costs a lot of money. And Ina Silva, who's on our board and is here today, makes these incredible voter guides. If you haven't seen them, you will. But that costs a lot of money. So, you know, we need to do that. We need to do different things to support our candidates. And that's one thing that people really appreciate.
Carol, I forgot to mention one thing, and Michael was good enough to remind me. It is only dues paying members that can vote for endorsements. So that's another reason why you want to get, you make sure your dues are renewed, because you get to vote in who we endorse.
Well, I would like to clarify that not only do you pay dues, but we have a participation requirement also, where in the past year you have to have attended 3 meetings, including one in the past 3 months. And you have to have gone out and done something with us, whether it was canvassing or leafleting or something. You know, we want people to participate, so that's why we have that. Anyway, so we're going to move on now. I see that Nikki, our first candidate, is here. Richard Lee is on our board, and he's active in every progressive thing around town. He's absolutely amazing. He's working on somebody's presidential campaign. And he's going to introduce Nikki. Go for it, Richard.
Thanks, Carol. Is Nikki in here right now?
Yes, she is.
Is she?
She's listed. Oh, she's in the waiting room. Somebody better get people in.
Okay, did somebody not make me an admin or co-host or whatever? I was letting people in, but now I'm not seeing them.
Okay, is everybody in that's in the waiting room?
Yeah, I just admitted everybody, so
Okay,
hopefully
can't
everybody's
see
you
there.
waiting
watch
room
that,
anymore.
Cheri, and keep people coming in?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, I thought people that were in the waiting room were actually in here. Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, cool. Nikki, well, I'm glad you could join us today. I'll introduce you. Our first guest, obviously joining us, is the wonderful Nikki Fortunato Bas. She is currently the Oakland City Council president and has been a council member representing District 2 since 2019. She's now running for Alameda County Supervisor in District 5, which, as folks know, is to succeed Keith Carson. Nikki has a track record of fighting for Oakland, Alameda County, and the wider East Bay. She has a long history of advocacy, of community organizing, and for delivering for her constituents. And so we're really glad to see her jump in this race, and we're really glad to have a longtime friend of our Rev. We're glad to have a longtime proud progressive with us here today, and I will turn it over to you, Nikki. You have the floor.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone. It's really good to be here. Happy New Year. And thanks for that introduction, Richard. Really appreciate it. So first, I want to say it's been a real pleasure to have you on this journey throughout my elected career, supporting me for my initial election and then re-election to the Oakland City Council. As you know, I am running for supervisor of Alameda County District 5. While I have already been introduced, I do want to say that I'm a 25-year resident of Alameda County of District 5. I'm a mother to a teenage daughter, a lifelong organizer, and an effective legislator that gets things done, working in coalition with our community as well as with labor unions. And I'm a champion for working families as well as our unhoused neighbors and for equity. So I do want to touch upon the decades of work that I've done prior to elected office because that, just really for me is important. I come to this work as someone who was influenced by my parents, Filipino immigrants, who taught me the values of fairness and the persistence needed to fight for justice, as well as from organizing shoulder to shoulder with low-wage workers, with immigrant workers and women. And through that work, I've done things like working coalition to raise Oakland's minimum wage, work for safe workloads with Emeryville hotel workers, as well as in Berkeley, working with Berkeley residents as well as students around sweatshop-free schools. And going to my work as an Oakland Council member, it's been really important for me now in my second term, also second term as council president, to again do this work in partnership with community-based organizations and unions. And so over my tenure, I've been able to champion tenant rights, working hand in hand with tenant advocates. I'm really proud that when shelter in place was declared some years ago, we were able to pass the state's strongest COVID eviction moratorium. And that was a model for Berkeley as well as Alameda County. And now that those moratoriums have expired for the most part, we need a strong partner at the county to prevent a surge in evictions. Similarly, I've been able to champion raising millions of dollars for affordable housing, but we need a strong partnership with the county to pair these funds with supportive and health services. And also, as we have expanded holistic community safety in Oakland with more violence prevention and new crisis response teams, we also need the county's partnership to align our criminal legal system towards more prevention, diversion, and rehabilitation. So the bottom line is I'm in this race to champion those issues so that we have someone who's committed to working families and our most vulnerable residents who'll partner deeply with our cities and our unincorporated areas. And I'll focus on homelessness, housing, and healthcare, as well as safety and sustainability. And finally, I'm really proud to be endorsed by Senator Nancy Skinner, the California Nurses Association, the California Working Families Party, along with elected leaders and community leaders, including our County Treasurer, Hank Levy, our Mayor in Oakland, Sheng Tao, Berkeley Rent Board Director Leah Simon Weisberg, among others. And I would be so honored to continue to have our Revolution East Bay's endorsement as I continue to serve the community in elected office. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, thank you very much. We're going to have some questions now. All four of the people that are running for the positions are going to be asked 2 questions. And the first one is, who do you support as the California person for U.S. Senate?
For U.S. Senate, I
Yeah.
am supporting Barbara Lee.
All right. Okay, and the other question is, do you support ceasefire now in Gaza?
Absolutely, absolutely. I put out a personal letter, which I can try to put into the chat later, back in November, and in October had signed on to a letter supporting children in Gaza. As council president, I did schedule a meeting in late November in order for the council to consider a ceasefire resolution, which we did pass. What is happening in Palestine as well as Israel is absolutely inhumane, and I am proud that the city of Oakland has gone on record supporting a ceasefire and, importantly, the congressional resolution for a ceasefire.
Okay, great. Okay, now we're opening it to whoever would like to ask a question. I see so far one hand up. Cheri?
Thank you so much for being with us today, Nikki. Being on the county supervisors is a little bit different job than being a city council representative. And there's different priorities. Can you kind of just tell us what you think your first priorities will be when you're elected as supervisor, and what are your top 2 or 3 things that you think are important for the county?
Thank you for that question, Cheri. As I said, my immediate priorities are the 3 H's: homelessness, housing, and healthcare. The county is our primary health department, with the exception of Berkeley, of course, and runs our many services as well as our public health system. So it is really important that the Alameda health systems continues to be strong so that we can provide equitable and accessible health care across the entire county. And that means also making sure that the governance structure that the late supervisors Chan and Valle were working towards is able to go forward with the accountability and transparency as well as fiscal responsibility that's so important. In terms of homelessness, I think some of you know that the county Measure W, which has been putting away hundreds of millions for homeless services, has been tied up in the courts. It's critical that as soon as those legal challenges are cleared, that money is able to get out into the community so that cities like Oakland that have raised money for affordable housing have the supportive services that we need to house people who are homeless. I'm also on the board of the Association of Bay Area Governments, or ABAG. I am working to place, along with many others, an affordable housing bond measure on the ballot that would help the entire Bay Area as well as Alameda County. And so pairing those affordable housing dollars with the county's service dollars are really important. So I'll stop there for now. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, great. Would anybody else like to ask a question of Nikki? This is your big chance. I'm shocked. Usually we have a few people that like to always ask questions. Anyway, okay, Nikki, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We always appreciate you coming to our meetings, and you could probably, if you have it handy, put your website address in the chat. And
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. Okay, let me see where we're at now. You know what? I think we're going to hear again from Mark Van Landuyt.
Well, I just want to say we're probably not bombarding Nikki with a ton of questions because we know her. Yeah. We know her record. We know her principles. We know her values. And, we were there for her in 2018 and that's all. It's amazing. Whenever I go around to Oakland, it doesn't matter if I'm in the flatlands or up in the hills, everyone thinks they know Nikki. Everyone says, "Oh, I love Nikki. I know her." Everyone talks about her as if she's a friend. And that is something you can't buy love. And so I'm so excited that I'm speaking personally now, so excited that she is running for this position. All right, well, okay. So I'm going to repeat sort of what everyone heard in the beginning. It's that time again to renew your Our Revolution East Bay membership dues. And as I said before, every single penny goes to electing our endorsed candidates. And I love telling you this percentage. 82% of Our Revolution East Bay endorsed candidates get elected. 82%. And we do it by canvassing neighborhoods, by phone banking, by strategic social media ads, by texting, and by tabling at farmers markets and being out there. And when you're on the ground, you know the locations, you know the zip codes that need boosting. You know the places where you need to bring up name recognition, where you have to have more voter contact. And so, and we've made the difference in so many elections, from state senate to district attorney to countless city councils. We help define elections, and we're carrying on those progressive values in the Bay Area, continuing the extraordinary work with the network of organizers from the Bernie Sanders campaign and beyond. You know the work we do. We can't do it without you. And so this is our big ask at the beginning of the year. We don't ask often. And whatever you can give, it matters. And also, if you can, if you renew your membership dues, you get to vote in all of our endorsements. So if you are, Carol, how many meetings do they have to attend again?
They have to attend 3 meetings in the past year. One of them has to be in the past 3 months. And they have to have already paid to vote in the election of the people that are here tonight. They can't just suddenly pop in and do it.
Wow. See all the fine print we're adding these days? So get your membership
That
dues in
fine
right
print has
now.
been here. I just forgot to mention it.
And so for PayPal, someone go ahead and give me that recipe again. You go into PayPal and you look for Our Revolution East Bay, because
you type it in. You
type
go
it
into
in. Just
PayPal and you type it in.
by fantastic cosmic timing, the website is down. So our website is down just at this moment. Is that right?
That's right.
Ah, perfect timing. Well, okay. So everyone go to PayPal, Our Revolution East Bay. Like I said, every penny. There's no paid staffers. There's no overhead. There's not, like this big unwieldy organization where the money's going in every direction. Everything goes to our endorsed candidates. All right. With that, I take it back to Carol.
Okay, I'm going to do a little add-on to that about, we generally like people to donate $27. If you're inclined to donate 1,000, we take it. And if your finances are such that you can't, if you can donate $5, that makes a difference, and you have the same rights.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. We're going to move on now. Have any of our other candidates gotten here?
No, Chanel's not here, but we told her 4:30, so she's got a
Yeah.
couple of minutes.
Okay.
And Ben
while
isn't
we're
here either
waiting,
that I see.
Cheri, would you like to give an update while we're waiting on the healthcare?
Sure, I'd be delighted to. Once again, CalCare and is being promoted essentially by the nurses organization. But what they really want to do this time is to engage organizations like Our Revolution East Bay, Working Families, everyone who knows that healthcare is a human right and that we just have to fix our broken healthcare system, and we need to do it in California. So the end of this month, January 22nd to February 9th, we're scheduling visits to all of the assembly members and representatives in the state to see, to discuss with them the importance of universal health care and that healthcare is a human right. So I think I'll put my email in the chat, and that probably would be easiest. And then you can just email me if you're interested in going on one of these visits. My district is Buffy Wicks, but I know there's also Mia Banta. There's a lot of different districts in our East Bay, Our Revolution. So if you're interested in joining us as far as talking to your representative about the importance of passing healthcare this year in California.
Okay, Cheri, thank you. Yeah, I'll put my name in. I definitely would like to go up there and try to make a difference getting people to support healthcare. Okay, our next guest is here.
Yes. Do you want me to introduce Shanelle, Carol?
Yeah, please.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, so Shanelle Scales-Preston. Shanelle, I am so sorry. I keep screwing up your last name. I swear I flip-flopped it. So that's why it's wrong on the agenda. So my bad, my apologies. So Shanelle is currently the mayor of Pittsburgh out here in Contra Costa County. She comes from a strong union family. She is a major leader out here in Contra Costa County. She's working with several. Whoops. She's working with several key programs out here involving transportation and other things. She currently works for Congressman Mark DeSaulnier, who you all may know or may not know, has asked for a ceasefire fairly early on, which is an awesome thing. And without further ado, she is running for Board of Supervisor District 5 in Contra Costa County. So welcome, Shanelle. Thank you for joining us. And take it away.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to speak with you all. I'm excited about my race for running for Contra Costa Supervisor District 5. I've been serving on the Pittsburgh City Council since 2018 and was just reelected in 2022.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Happened to step up and run for, you know, a different leadership role. And that was to run in District 5. Born and raised in the city of Pittsburgh and have spent, you know, the last 22 years working for Congressman George Miller and Mark DeSaulnier. So I have spent time in these areas and look forward to representing them in a different way on the county level.
Carol, did you want to do the questions?
You can do them if you'd like. You want?
Okay, so we're asking all of the candidates questions. We've been doing this for all of our endorsed candidates. I think I probably know the answers to these, but so who are you supporting for God, seriously, for our state, our federal U.S. Senator? Seriously.
It's Barbara Lee for me.
Yeah, thank you. Can't even remember what race she's running for. It's been a little crazy.
Barbara Lee speaks for me. So I supported her early on. I hosted an event for her in Pittsburgh back in February. And we have over 150 people that came out to support her. So whatever I can do to help her get across the finish line, I'm really excited about her race.
Thank you. Yeah, that was an awesome event. I was there as well. So yeah, fabulous event. And that was a pop-up event.
It was. We were able to get people out within a couple of days.
Yeah. And the second question is, are you supporting a ceasefire in Gaza?
Yes, I mean, I hate to hear about war anywhere. I hate to see the pictures and see what's going on. I'm always trying to, you know, learn more. Working for a member of Congress, you know, I get a lot of phone calls that are pouring in and my heart just aches for what I hear, what constituents come in and show and share. And I just really wish it would just end.
Thank you. Boy, don't we all. I'm one of those constituents. Mark's really trying to seeing my name show up on things. Okay, I have a hand raised. So we have one question. Believe Tom, are you sorry? I'm like not seeing this little interface quite right. Yeah, Tom, and sorry, Luce, not sure how to pronounce your last name.
Hi, it's not a question for the current speaker, but I'm concerned about Barbara Lee's position. She's way down at the bottom. They have a Republican.
Somebody needs to mute themselves.
Yeah, Tom, we're right now doing questions for Shanelle, but we'll have an opportunity later on to talk about Barbara.
Thank you.
Cheri, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Hi, Shanelle. So nice of you to be with us today. I would like to know what you think in Contra Costa County, what you think that the biggest problems are that you'll need to address, and how you would solve some of the big problems in our county.
so much for your question. And I think some of the biggest problems, which is, you know, not too different from other counties here in the Bay Area. We have, you know, homeless issues that we're dealing with in Contra Costa County. I would probably say crime as well, that is on a lot of constituents' minds. And even though it might not be so prevalent in Pittsburgh where I live, it's just that, you know, where constituents are constantly seeing it on TV, it makes them alarmed. Other issues I would say that is truly.
What happened here?
I don't know.
Did we lose her?
Focusing on healthcare, I live in one of the communities that is marginalized. We have, you know, Latinos and African Americans in my community, and just trying to ensure that they know about the healthcare to sign on to, and making sure that Contra Costa Cares is extended because it's supposed to come up soon, and looking at ways that, you know, when it is extended, how we can do more for our undocumented community within District 5. Also, transportation and housing. You know, we are constantly building housing in East Contra Costa County. However, we don't have a lot of job centers. And so that's something that I really would like to look into, to be able to serve on some of these committees and boards that people are serving on that may not have someone of color, and to be able to share and be a representative to let them know, like, you know, most people I know that lives in East Contra Costa County have to commute to like Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, to work, to make a living wage, to find a really good job. And we want people to be closer to home, to be with their families, and not spend 2 hours on the road back and forth each day.
Thank you, Shanelle.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
did that commute for a very long time. 2 hours each way is not fun.
No.
Paola, you have your hand raised, and then Michael has his hand raised, and I think we're going to have to cut off questions. I know Shanelle's dealing, she's dialing in remotely, and she's dealing with some things on her end. So Paola, do you have a question?
I am.
Yes, I do. And hello, Chanel. Can you share with us who are your biggest donors? Who have you received the most donations from?
Yes. Yes, so I am supported by our labor unions here in Contra Costa County. And so my biggest donors are the unions here locally. And then from that is grassroots. So it's everyday working people like myself.
Thank you. Last question, Michael.
Yes, Shanelle, I just read your response to our questionnaire in question 11. It asks, list any all industries, organizations, and people that you will decline donations and endorsement from. Please be inclusive. And you type NA. Can you explain, or is there a mistype?
Yeah, so I'm not seeking donations from any of the refineries. In my district right now, there are 3 refineries. I'm not seeking donation from any of them. I haven't sought any donations from any, I guess, large industries. It has only been supported by labor and, you know, just families and communities, organizations here locally.
Okay, so the OREB board members, you heard her response. When you see the form, you can take that into consideration.
Great, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I'm at the hospital right now, so my mother is in the hospital, so I was trying to complete the form quickly and get it over, because I know that you all have an interview headed this evening, and so I may have missed some things. I was just trying to get it done. So if you want to shoot it back to me, I'm happy to fill that information in as well, so it's in writing.
Yes, it'll be good. Well, I'll send you the link again please supplement what you just said in that.
Yeah, no problem. Will do. Thank you, Michael, for catching that.
All right.
Thank you, Shanelle. Thank you so much for taking out time. I know, and I best wishes for your mom and your whole family.
Thank you so much. You all have a great evening. I appreciate your time again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, we have two other candidates that are supposed to speak, and I don't see either of them here. Ben Bartlett, are you here?
Ben was here. He was here early on.
Huh.
Okay,
Okay,
maybe he.
while we're waiting, why don't we go back to Tom Luce, who had a question he wanted to talk about?
Thank you so much for bringing me into this thing. I'm just very concerned about Barbara Lee. In the paper today, she's down at the bottom of the list with a new candidate from the GOP, candidate Gary, the sports hero, is coming up on the top. And then we have Adam Schiff and Katie Porter ahead of her. I'm very concerned because really these folks are not the progressives that we need to take over Dianne Feinstein. So that's just my concern. And I know, of course, our revolution is supporting Barbara.
Thanks, Tom. You know what? Mike Oles is here from our revolution, and I think we're going to have him say a few words. So it's good that he is on this call and actually heard that concern.
I'm wondering, since the other speakers aren't here, if Mike Oles would be able to speak right now. Does that work for you, Mike? Do you even hear me? He may not
Yes.
even, he may be having dinner.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome,
Hey,
Mike.
Carol. Hey, everybody. And hey, Tom, I was actually, I looked you up real quick. So your name seemed familiar. And I saw that you did work in Haiti. And my brother is a leading sort of Haiti humanitarian aid worker. So thank you for that work. So yeah, and so my name is Mike Oles. I know a lot of people on this call. I'm the national field director of our revolution, and we have a new staff member joining our team, and a Bernie veteran from 2016 and 2020, Brittany Ruland. And Brittany, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Brittany Ruland. Like Mike said, I have been given the honor to work with Senator Sanders for both of his presidential campaigns, once in the state of Idaho and then in the state of Iowa. And so that was definitely quite an experience in itself, but I'm really excited that I've gotten the opportunity to join our revolution now to try to continue pushing forward with people-powered campaigns. And so definitely looking forward to getting to know everybody. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. I have 4 kids. I have 1 dog, and we are getting ready for our first polar vortex of the winter. So looking forward to hearing how warm it is there for you guys.
And Brittany will be helping us track down endorsement questionnaires and get our endorsements and our political machinery up and going as we come into the closing days already of the California primary, 60 days out.
Exactly. So political director, feel free to reach out anytime. Happy to work with everybody and looking forward to getting to know you.
And so, yeah, so in terms of Barbara Lee, so a couple things. Obviously the polls are tight. There's a huge undecided out there. And the room is there for Barbara Lee to get in the second place, right? Our goal is to get into just the top 2, right? Adam Schiff might just have too much money. So Barbara Lee, we think we can beat Katie Porter. We think we can beat Steve Garvey. But it's going to take all of us just working very, very hard and coordinating our efforts to make sure that we get as many votes out for Barbara Lee. So I would add to that, every night, 6 days a week, we'll be running phone banks, volunteers and paid, for Barbara Lee. So we're going to be making hopefully tens of thousands of phone calls every week for Barbara Lee. I think we're averaging over 100,000 phone calls right now a month for Barbara Lee from our rev. So we're basically doing whatever we can to boost out our membership across the state. and then working to set up some opportunities for canvassing and for what we call distributed organizing, and that stuff that we're kind of waiting on the lead campaign to kind of to make public. You know, there's going to be a lot of activity coming up. You know, obviously February 5th, we think the ballots will be in the mail, and we want to make sure we're as much contact as people as possible. But, you know, when it comes to the ceasefire, Barbara Lee is the only one in this race who's called for a real ceasefire. We think that, you know, that gives her a definitive, you know, the difference maker in this campaign, in this race. So I don't know if you happen to see our phone call. When was that? On what was that, Wednesday night with Barbara Lee, and Rashida Tlaib, but it's online. It was amazing. And you know, it was our largest call we've ever done, I think, since Bernie was last on. So you know, just a chance to I think over these next 4 weeks and 2 months, we can win this. We can get into the runoff and do big things. But yeah, please reach out to everybody. Please be in touch with our phone bank team, and you know, and let's line everybody else up, right? All of our endorsed candidates, so we get Barbara Lee and everybody else to the finish line.
Okay, great. Mike, thank you. I just want to mention that our Revolution National has become this huge, huge force in trying to get Barbara Lee elected. And they're working with like some of our local people like Ash Kalra, Rokana, and others. And they're doing these just amazing town halls on different subjects with people like that and Barbara Lee. The other night, Rashida Tlaib was on with Barbara Lee. You guys should all tune in and check them out. They're really, really good programs.
And I'll say, so a week from tomorrow in San Francisco, we are going to be doing an event live with Barbara Lee and Tony Thurman on education policy and other issues. So if it's easy enough to get over the bay into San Francisco on Martin Luther King Day, there should be an amazing event that will have information go live hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday with final details. But a week from tomorrow in San Francisco.
Okay, great. I just want to remind people, if you're not one of the speakers and you're not speaking right now, please make sure you're muted. Somebody is talking and it makes it difficult to hear. I'd like to say our next guest is here, not under his name though.
Yeah, he's here
under his name now. And Ben Bartlett, who's a Berkeley City Council person, and he's going to be introduced by Cheri.
Before we do that, Carol, could we ask Mike to put the information about that event in San Francisco in the chat?
Yeah, I don't think it's live yet, so I'll have to send it over as soon as we get details finalized. So just make that save the date, and I'll put the save the date stuff in the chat.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll post it on our social media when we get it from you.
And we'll send it out to our mailing list.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, I am here to introduce our next candidate that is running for the Alameda Board of Supervisors, Ben Bartlett. As Mark was talking about during our commercials, we have seen an upsurge in our East Bay of progressive people running for office. So we have actually 3 very progressive candidates that are running for this position. So it's very important that we hear from all of them. Ben has been, he's an environmental attorney. He's an advocate for affordable housing and has worked very hard in his area in South Berkeley for that. He's this council member from South Berkeley on the City Council of Berkeley. He's a strong supporter of reducing gun violence and prevention and protecting children. And as an environmental attorney, he also has a focus of protecting our environment. And Ben, we'd like to hear about your priorities and a little bit more about you and what you'll do as a county supervisor.
All right, thank you, Cheri, and good to see everyone. Thank you for letting me join you today. This organization has been endorsing me my entire political career, so I'm really happy to be here again. My name is Ben Bartlett. I'm on the City Council in Berkeley, where I've served for 7 years. In that time, I have focused on all the elements that bring equity and inclusion and a better life for people, and that's because I'm from here, many generations. And my life was turned upside down back in 2015 when my mother was displaced. She's a senior citizen living with a group of seniors, and a developer bought this house they were in and violently kicked them out. And it turned her life upside down. And that same year, I discovered that the county, which makes senior housing, when I went to the county to get senior housing as a backup for my mother and her friends, they said the wait list was 14 years. And that opened my eyes. And the county that year had a surplus of nearly $1 billion. And so that's when I discovered that the county is integral to our well-being. So I ran for office to make sure that would happen to my mother wouldn't happen to anyone else. And so in that time, I have focused hard on delivering affordable housing. We've helped deliver 1,000 affordable units, senior housing, a seniors bill of rights, new forms of supportive housing, mental health care, community health workers, you name it. We have hit the ground running in Berkeley, and as a result, our homelessness population has decreased by 5%, whereas the counties and cities within the county have gone up 22%. So these are the reasons that I'm running for the county. The same reasons I ran for city council 7 years ago was to fix that situation for more people. And in Berkeley, we have created the imprint. We have the imprint, we have the template. We just need to go to the county and expand it for everyone. And that's my mission. And I ask you to support me today.
Thank you, Ben. We're asking everybody the same 2 questions. I don't know if you were here for the other candidates, but the first one is who you're supporting for state senate.
State Senate, Jesse.
I mean,
For U.S. Senate.
U.S. Senate, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, of course, Barbara Lee, who is, a dear friend, and I've hosted fundraisers for her. I think I was first out to endorse her. Barbara Lee, without a doubt.
Okay, well, that's the right answer. And our other question is do you support an immediate ceasefire? And I know in the Berkeley City Council has had that on the agenda, but do you support an immediate ceasefire in Gaza?
I do support that, and I drafted language to that effect, and it did not succeed at the council. But I definitely am a partner to peace.
Good. Since I'm here and I'm the one that asks all the questions, as I said in the beginning, we have some really good candidates running, and I'd like to know kind of what you think your skills that you bring to the office that will help solve some of the problems in the county as far as the board of supervisors.
So there's really 3 main skill sets that I'm proud of. That I'm proud of. One, the ability to work with opposing factions. And Berkeley, of course, is famous for its factious politics. And all of my 120 measures, for the most part, and these are groundbreaking measures, like the creation of a mental health response team that's civilian, the step-up housing, supportive housing protocol, brand new supportive housing. Community-based finance tools, all these things are very controversial and difficult, racial equity and city contracting, but they're all passed unanimously because I'm able to work with people and I'm able to make things work for everyone. That's a big one. So this county board, right, they're very different personalities than you're used to. So you have to be able to work with them to succeed, and I will. The other is my skill set as an organizer. I was the top organizer in the Democratic Party for the state of California. I created 130 precinct captain organizations in South LA. I know how to organize. And I also, as an attorney, I know how to craft legislation that appeases and brings in stakeholders. So organizing plus hardcore technical skills has resulted in what I've done. And my legislation is copied around the country. I'm nationally recognized as a policy leader. And third, and this one is more integral to our discussion today, you have to realize the county, despite all the stuff it does, its main business is providing for poor people. Hospitals, jails, all that stuff, right? And as someone who represents those people, I represent them fully. For me, it's not esoteric, it's not academic. These are my people. These are my cousins. This is my mother. These are my friends. These are my people. And so in this instance, more than any other office, I would say, representation matters. Because if my people go down, I go down, and I'm not going to go down. So this is I want to leave you with that. It's super important that those people have a voice, and when they come and they see my face, they have hope. I'm sorry, you're
Muted, Cheri.
Can't have a meeting without having somebody say that. It looks like we have questions from Michael Chang. Michael?
Ben, thank you for coming here. We received your response to the questionnaire. In question number 39, it says, do you support the international campaign of BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanction? And what would the U.S. policy be on Palestine/Israel? You answer no. These are too nuanced and diverse matters to provide adequate response in this format. Is it possible for you to explain that a little bit?
Well, I think my position on that would mirror Senator Sanders, who opposes it. So, on the one hand, as an African-American male, I'm very sensitive to selective prosecution. So in this instance, when you call for boycotting the state of Israel, but ignoring China, who has legitimate massive rape camps for the Uyghur population, and ignoring Iran, which executes women for letting their head wraps slide back, and ignoring America with its prison industrial complex, and ignoring Ethiopia, which just killed a million ethnic minorities, and ignoring Rwanda, which displaced 2 million people over the Cobalt Wars funded by China and European countries, it just doesn't hold water because it's inconsistently applied. So I tell everyone, if you want to do a universal approach to human rights, I'm with you. But it's just too much to ask when you're singling out one nation that happens to be the detested minority group around the world. It doesn't sit right.
This other question may be forthcoming, but right now it's just this question.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and there's more countries too we could talk about. Saudi Arabia. There's so many countries that are abusing their people and horrifically. So it's not fair, I think, to single out one country. Just like they singled me out on the streets.
Okay, thank you.
Cheri?
I am again. Okay, and I also see that Matthew has his hand up. Matthew?
Yeah. So I need to say, as a Jew, I honestly find the answer that you just gave wildly offensive, to say that not holding Israel accountable for war crimes is essentially about needing to protect Jews from anti-Semitism. You just listed a bunch of countries like, China and Iran that are doing human rights violations. But unlike Israel, they are not getting funding from the U.S. and weapons from the U.S. to commit those human rights violations. Israel is getting funding from the U.S., funding that could be going to affordable housing, ending homelessness, and is being used to commit war crimes. And it's being done in my name. And you are saying we're not. You're using the same excuse that is used every single time to defend Israel, falsely claiming that it's going to be about singling them out if we do anything, if we do the bare minimum, such as enforcing the existing law that says you're not supposed to use U.S. taxpayer money to fund human rights violations.
Matthew, can we give him a chance to?
Can I respond?
I'm really offended that you're saying that basically my safety as a Jew depends on not stopping a genocide that's happening, and that we can't do the absolute minimum such as BDS because
Matthew?
of that.
Okay, Matthew.
Can I
Matthew,
respond?
can we let Ben
Okay.
respond to
Can I respond?
your? Yes,
So
please.
actually,
just
Matthew,
muted
the United States is funding Saudi Arabia, which is genociding people in Yemen. We are funding Colombia, which is massacring indigenous people in the rainforest. We are funding Bolivia doing the same. We are funding.
I didn't cite those
Let me
countries.
finish. Let me respond,
I
Matt.
cited China.
Let me finish.
I cited China and
Let me
Iran.
finish. Let me finish. And we are definitely funding the Ethiopian. We are funding the Ethiopian genocide against the Tigray population, and we are funding Rwanda for the cobalt materials, and we are funding what's another one? We're funding them all. America runs the world. Don't you get it? And we're funding China.
That is not an excuse. That's not an excuse for taking inaction.
China has most favored nation status with this nation. What do you think that means? That means they get the best trade deal.
I'm aware of what most favored nation status is. It's about trade relations, and it was done in the 1990s.
Did Matthew be put in the waiting room?
Yeah, we're just going to disagree then.
Matthew?
But again, my point. Okay.
I also have a question I wanted to ask from before Ben made a statement. Given that you are endorsing for state senate,
but you just asked 2 questions now. You get a second question on top of that?
No, there's other people.
Let's
that
move
have
on from you,
questions.
Matthew.
Matthew,
that wasn't a
your questioning is over.
I'm ready to move on from Matthew Lewis.
Yeah, I have Ida, please. Ida?
Hi, sorry.
Ida, I said Ida.
I don't know where my mouse is. So hi, my District 3 councilman.
Oh,
Good to
you're
see
in the
you.
district? Oh, nice to meet you.
It's pretty crazy here with the tents. It's very bad. I'm calling to see what is your position on having more rent control, expanding it to newer buildings built in the last 10 years?
So yes, of course. I mean, I'm a big defender of rent control, big enemy of evictions. The rent board saved my mom's existence. My father helped establish the Berkeley Rent Board, which I believe is the first in the country or the second. I'm a part of the rent community. I support them 100%. I think that law is a state law. So, I support it, but unfortunately I don't have the power to change it right now. But of course I expect it to be changed. We need it. The average age of a new homeless person now is 62 years old. And the fastest growing homeless population are 65 and older. America is decimating its senior population. And part of that, a big part of it, the biggest part of it, is the fact that Social Security checks do not equal the rent. And so this is a crime against humanity, a crime against nature that we're undergoing here. And I'm opposed to it every step of the way.
So I'm guessing as a county supervisor, you would be pushing the envelope on this issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Susana, did you have a question?
I do. So Ben, don't know you. Your credentials sound really good. I'm out in Contra Costa County. So here's my question. I agree with you that the United States has their fingers in far too many pies. I agree with you that capitalism is probably one of the worst evils on the planet. And that we're basically doing all of this stuff in order to keep the war machine running, which keeps the money machine running. However, you cited a lot of atrocities across the world, a lot of things that we should be protesting. A lot of those have been protested. So my question to you is, how is refusing to single out and not work on something that is so imminent helping?
I'm sorry?
You cited a lot of different things: Rwanda, Bosnia, South Africa,
All right.
what's currently happening in the Sudan. all of those questions, and you basically are saying that unless we call out and actively work on all of those, we shouldn't be singling out and actively working toward one thing happening, a la the genocide that is currently happening in Gaza, the state of Palestine, that we shouldn't actually support a ceasefire there, because as Americans, we basically aren't doing anything to help any of these other things, and that America just sucks big time, which I do not disagree with. Trust me, check my social media. So how is saying that helping? In my view, it's not, but I'd like to hear how you think by not asking for a ceasefire, not holding us accountable to this particular issue, is helping the overall cause of us getting our asses out of all the crap that we're involved in, stop arming the world, and, you know, maybe take a step back from capitalism and see what it's actually doing. I just don't see it helping. I don't see the harm in asking for a ceasefire. I don't understand the political risk. I protested at I'm a delegate to the California Democratic Party. My ass was front and center, right in front of all of those candidates when we were screaming for a ceasefire. Well, I just don't get this political risk.
So you have me confused. I asked for a ceasefire. It didn't pass the council. The question that I think you're thinking about is the BDS, which I don't support.
Okay, then I apologize.
But I'm also not I'm also not in the foreign policy establishment. I'm not a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm running to fix homelessness for senior citizens in Alameda County.
Right, but we're all in the
kind of
foreign policy game right now.
Like it or not,
we are. Okay, I absolutely misunderstood when you were citing off all of those other things. I was getting the impression that you weren't actively supporting a ceasefire, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're Americans. We suck at like focus. The fact that we are focused on one thing is a good thing. Let's not take away from it. Okay, sorry to be taking up all your time, but
Susana, we have one more question, and I know I don't want to get behind on my time. So, is Paola? Do you still have a question?
Yes, I do. And hey, thank you, Ben, for joining us today. I do have a question, and I really do appreciate that you support rent control. And but I'm kind of curious, although you do say you support rent control, you also are endorsing for state senate Jesse Arreguin, who is the first candidate and first mayor in the history of rent control in Berkeley to take away tenant protections with Measure Q. He took away the protections on those people building granny flats in their backyard. You know, if you rent from in an ADU, you have no tenant protections. So how do you balance that you are endorsing that person who is taking away tenant protections, who took away tenant protections, who is actively taking money now from the California Apartment Association? And we know it's so important for seniors to be protected. And if seniors who can't buy a home and don't know how to have a home, they have to rent. And so we need, as seniors, as people who rent, as consumers in the rental housing industry, we need the strongest protections possible. But yet you seem to be endorsing someone who has turned their back on tenants. So can you kind of, clarify that for me? Because we have another candidate who brought rent control, did not take away protections, and is not beholden to the California Apartment Association and to developers. So how do you justify that? Thanks.
Yeah, well, first off, I don't think that's a fair characterization. He did not take away rights for people in ADUs. There a Measure Q you're talking about. He did not do that. The people of Berkeley voted one way on that.
Well, he was the one who put it on the calendar, on the agenda. He approved it. There was a vote, and he was the lead vote to make it happen. It was his, so that's what I mean.
And then he also drafted the tenant protection ordinance, and I wrote that too.
But he took away protections from tenants. He took away protections from tenants and ADUs.
Okay.
He took them away. So
okay. So look, he's not perfect. Okay, he's not perfect, but he has been instrumental in the success of everything I'm talking about. He has helped me achieve everything for South Berkeley. Funding for the Black Health Hub, creation of the Specialized Care Unit, the Civilian Response Team, the George Floyd Act, reorganizing the police and public safety in Berkeley, the 1,000 affordable units, the step-up housing, supportive care. He's not perfect, but he has been instrumental in my success on everything I've done. And when I win, the people of South Berkeley win. And right now, that's the choice, right? And so, again, he's someone who's helped us succeed in all the stuff we're doing. So no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Paula, you may be perfect. But
No, I'm not saying
But
that. So that's a dig at me, Ben. That's a dig. That's not right. I appreciate you responding to the question.
But if someone is 8 out of 10 on point for the people, then they're okay in my book. And so
saying Jesse's 8 out of 10 is extremely misleading.
Matthew,
Like, you can't be 8 out of 10 and take
Matthew,
corporate funding.
Matthew, you're not
I don't know
called
what to tell
on.
you.
If you interrupt again, you're out of the meeting.
Yeah, and again, these people I work with very closely every day in the city council, so I know them really well. And also, again, my purpose is to eliminate senior homelessness in Alameda County and remake the health department and make it work for people. So again, this stuff is neither here nor there in my book.
Ben, thank you so much. We put you kind of on a hot seat, but you understand that our endorsements are very important to us.
Yeah.
And so our members do have their own opinions. So this is probably getting you ready for your campaign. And we really appreciate you being here and answering our questions.
And I just want you to remember, when you're talking to a 62-year-old African-American person on the street who's benefiting from my innovative policies and ability to deploy resources, they will be more grateful that you endorse me over that ability and that conviction than something happening 8,000 miles away that is not connected to them or myself. And maybe when I become a senator or president, we can revisit this and I'll do something about that. Okay, but thank you so much. Looking forward to you endorsing me, or at least dual endorsing me. You've been with me every time. I've been with you every time. And that means something. Okay?
Yes, it sure does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ben. So we have one other candidate who doesn't seem to be here, but I'm wondering if there's somebody here that's here because they're going to support Greg and talk in his place. JC, were you going to do that?
Yeah, he's 11 hours ahead of us time zone wise. He did just get back to me. I asked him to log on, and it seems like he would, but he may be having connection issues. I'm not sure what country he's in, but he's far, far away.
Okay, then why don't we move on to a couple other things until he gets here, okay? We've got a number of people here talking about different bills and this and that. Why don't we start first with Gordon Miller, who's going to speak briefly on Assembly Bill 83. Gordon?
Yeah, good afternoon. Our revolution, East Bay, will not endorse candidates with big money backing. We recognize how important this is. We've got a very deteriorated political situation in this country where the Supreme Court keeps coming down on behalf of big business, basically giving them the role of suzerains or emperors or whatever over politics in this country. In the Citizens United decision, the Supreme Court said businesses are associations of citizens. Well, the Bush and I'm talking about Shrub, not Daddy Bush, I'm talking about Junior Bush, and Trump cut taxes dramatically, and that encouraged foreigners to get involved and buy shares in American businesses. So at this point in time, some like 40% or more of the shares of stock in American businesses are held by non-Americans. There is a Federal Trade Commission definition of a foreign influenced business. This is one where a single foreigner owns 1% or more of the stock, or where foreigners own 5% or more. A group of foreigners owns 5% or more of the stock. And thanks to our beautiful Supreme Court, foreign entities that cannot influence American businesses by various legal safeguards that the Supreme Court has condescended to leave in place can be circumvented because business is sovereign. And if the foreigners get control of businesses, then they can become sovereign through this loophole. And AB 83 seeks to stop this from happening. However, it turns out this is a no-brainer. Gee whiz, let's get foreign domination out of politics. But if 40% of big businesses are owned, or their shares are owned by foreigners, then this is going to cut big business out of an important loophole that they've got to further increase their domination of our politics. So they are fighting this. Seattle has such an ordinance. Minnesota has such an ordinance. New York tried, but big business was on the phone to their legislators and they stopped it. And it looks like California is following the lead of New York. So my assembly person is foot dragging on this and saying, oh, what about small foreign-owned businesses, meaning mom and pop emigrated to the United States and opened up a small business. Oh, and there could be a legal challenge. What are we going to do? Well, this hasn't turned out to be a problem yet. And you'd figure that in Minnesota or Seattle, this would have been tried and succeeded. Well, it hasn't. But my assembly person has thrown those up as objections. Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, she's a Democrat out here in deep suburbia. So we've got problems moving Democrats along to enact this. Alex Lee proposed it last year. It was, he found that support was lacking, so he withdrew the bill. But this year, he put it back in. There are citizens acting to try and get this thing out of limbo and get it back in front again. And the Contra Costa Democratic Party Issues Committee has recommended forwarding a resolution supporting AB 83 to the County Democratic Party. The Diablo Valley Club has done it, and I think other clubs are thinking about doing this as well. I'm going to put the resolution in chat as a Word document, and I will follow it up with a PDF document. And what I would suggest everybody do is call your assembly person. And I'm concerned that Buffy might be vulnerable to big business pressure. After all, we're talking about Buffy the Bernie Slayer. Remember that little adage that came out about her. She's gotten a lot of support from big business donors. So call your assembly people and ask them to support AB 83. As far as I am concerned, this is a litmus issue. Back in the 70s, there were social issues that were litmus issues. If you don't go along with me about abortion or gay rights or whatever, I'm not going to support you. Well, this is just as important. And remember, a lot of rich people have sick attitudes about social issues too. This gives bad people a lot of power to ruin a lot of lives. So I'm asking for your support to get AB 83 through. Please call your assembly member and ask them to support AB 83. And I'm posting this thing in the chat right now if I can. Thank you for your time.
Gordon, Paula has her hand up. I think she might have a
Oh,
question.
okay, Paula. You may fire when you unmute.
Well, I don't have a question. Sorry, I'll take it down.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I posted, oh yeah, Gordon, you already posted it in there. I know somebody earlier had a question what bill it was you were talking about, but I think you answered that one.
Okay, I'm going to convert this to a PDF file and put it through that way too.
Okay, Carol, I think we're back to you. And I know Jenny Wong is here and she's on our agenda, and Greg is still not here. I'm thinking he's just having connection issues from wherever he is. Okay, did we lose Carol? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was muted. I didn't realize I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was talking away. Okay, we have Jenny Wong here today, who is the most outstanding city auditor in the country. We know that here in Berkeley. She's done some amazing things, and she wants to talk about what's it called? Measure H, which is local to Berkeley for in support of Berkeley schools. Jenny, we're so happy to have you here. We're always happy to have you here. So go ahead.
Thank you so much, Carol. And hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you all. I love this group. I'm here very excitedly to talk to you about BSEP, Measure H. It's going to be on the March ballot. It funds essential services for Berkeley public schools. It needs a 2/3 majority. It is the funding source for 20% of the BUSD funding. So it's a really big deal. It pays for 1/3 of our teachers in Berkeley. And thanks to BSEP, every public school in Berkeley has a fully staffed and resourced school library. And our class sizes are smaller. They support academic and mental health counseling support for struggling students, which really has been on the increase, especially since the pandemic. As a parent of BUSD school kids, every 4th to 8th grader can participate in an award-winning music, visual, and performing arts program. It also provides essential funding for instructional technology and teacher training. Without BSEP, schools could face a $38 million in cuts to staff and academic programs. So let me say that again, that's $38 million, which is, would be devastating. The measure is a 54-cent building square foot parcel tax measure. There is a tax exemption, which would continue to be available for low income seniors and also for anyone dependent on SSI and SSDI. BSEP is supported by a lot of different folks: local chapter of the League of Women Voters, Berkeley Federation of Teachers, Berkeley Council of Classified Employees, Berkeley School Board, City Council, BSEP Planning and Oversight Committee, the Alameda Labor Council, and of course, we'd be honored to get this particular club support. The reason why I work so hard on school measures like this is because of the teachers. I would not be where I am without the support of public school teachers. I had excellent teachers who took the time to help someone like me, who's an immigrant on food stamps, to become the first in my college and in my family to get a college education. I'm also a parent of 2 Berkeley High grads, so they went through elementary, middle school, and Berkeley High School, and they thrived because of BSEP. One of my sons is now playing music at UCLA, and I thank Berkeley Public Schools for that. So I really hope to earn this club's support for this. so that we can keep our public schools thriving and to keep the good teachers in Berkeley. Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to mention, so you're asking us to have the members vote to endorse this?
Yeah, it would be great. We're trying to send out a mailer, and we would love to be able to include our revolution, you know, as an endorser.
Okay, great, Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, did anybody have questions? Paula?
Yes, hi there. Thank you, Jenny. Excuse me. Any idea how much that tax would be on a owner of a single family home? How much would it cost them a year? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers specifically with me, but I can get that information to you after.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is a renewal tax, so it is a tax that's been around for a long time in Berkeley.
Awesome. I mean, so it's a renewal tax. So, but is this new? Is this effort like changing that tax at all? Is there any amendments to it, to the previous tax, or this is just going to repeat the same tax?
So it's a renewal tax since I think the tax measure started in 1986, and it's how Berkeley has been able to keep its funding afloat. There is a slight increase in the tax, and that's because there has been increases. That's, you know, the tax that was in place during the last renewal update had built-in inflation updates, and so they are building in a little bit more for that inflation update. But you know, I don't think it should be a huge differential in the updated renewal.
Thank you.
Sure. Other questions? I see two other hands up. Gordon or Matthew?
I think Gordon.
Gordon, and I'm the secretary of this year group, and I send you an advisory that we have decided to endorse your proposal. Could you kindly email what your proposal is to me, and also an answer to the question about what the actual tax burden is going to be? And I'm going to put my email address in chat. That way it won't get lost.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gordon. I really appreciate that. And I'll send you an email.
Jenny, Alfred also put in the chat that it's a 54 cents per building square foot.
Yes.
Adjusted for inflation. So he has some information he put in too.
Okay, Matthew.
Yeah, so I really hate it when taxes have these like expiration dates that are like they just set decades later, because then we have the situation where we have to decades later we have to renew it because they made a decision like in the 80s to put an expiration date in, particularly when they keep making these taxes harder to pass. Like in November they might pass a ballot measure that says, you know, all tax increases and renewals in the future will require 2/3. So I was wondering, does this year's tax we're voting on in March, is it going to have an expiration date again, or is it going to be in perpetuity so we don't have to keep doing this?
No, it will have an expiration date for 8 years. So it'll be expiring 2032. And I didn't write the tax measure, but I think that most tax measures do have an expiration date because it has a likely higher chance of passing. And because we do need 2/3 to pass, and you know, we really don't want to risk any chance of this not passing. But I hear your point, Matthew.
Oh, okay. Any other questions for Jenny? Okay, Jenny, thank you so much.
Oh, could I say one brief thing, which was I just wanted to thank Jenny signed the ceasefire resolution, not resolution, letter in support of a ceasefire. I wanted to thank Jenny for doing that. You know, there have been folks who have, for instance, gone off and like done stuff to undermine ceasefire resolutions and then like attach their name to letters like that. Jenny's not a case of that. Jenny, you know, Jenny does it. I think she means it, and like, you know, it's consistent with her actions and work. So I just wanted to thank Jenny for that very much. I'm very happy to have you as our city auditor.
Yeah, I know I'm one of the people that signed that letter, and thank you for doing that, Jenny.
Thank you so much for that. And I just appreciate you signing that onto that letter, Carol. I think Kate and Paula, you signed onto that letter. So I really appreciate that support to call for that ceasefire. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to Susana. Do you have a report for us about Greg?
Well, yeah, Greg's, I think the 11-hour time difference connectivity issues are just failing him. So he hasn't been able to log on, and I haven't heard from him since the last time he said, okay, when I told him what time I thought he would be on. So I'm thinking he's not going to make it. And I don't know enough about his campaign to speak for it.
Yeah, earlier we had somebody here from his campaign, but they don't seem to be here now. JC, are you still here? Under another name, maybe? Well, try one more time to get a hold of him. Meanwhile, we'll move on. Okay, Our Revolution National, one of the many things that we're working on is to let people know about what's going on with AIPAC and how AIPAC is investing $100 million or something totally obscene to try to stop the squad. Mike, could you talk about that a little bit? Are you still here? Oh, maybe he's not here anymore.
Hey, I'm here.
Oh.
Hey everybody, and so just a quick update on kind of what the congressional map looks like rest of the summer across the country. Obviously, California will really set the pace with the early primary and major elections and battles. With what has been going on in Gaza and across the Middle East, AIPAC is mobilizing, threatening to put millions of dollars in elections to come after the most progressive members of Congress. So as the summer, as the winter, spring, and summer unfolds, we want to be ready in the primaries for to take this on. Now, I feel like the tide has turned quite a bit, that the people who were clearest on the need for a ceasefire were right, of course, which we already knew, right? But they were right. They took the moral, they have the moral authority on this issue, and so we're hoping that it becomes it kind of turn the tables here on people threatening to spend millions of dollars against Rashida Tlaib, and the other prominent ceasefire members of Congress. So I think we just want to be ready for that this summer across the country. Are people hearing about California races where AIPAC wants to play a role? Obviously, if Barbara Lee makes it into the runoff, that will probably be a place that they spend money. But anybody else hearing about races in California or elsewhere that should be on priority list?
I'll send you some info, Mike.
I think we're going to expect to see, as we mentioned, like we have a corrupt mayor in Berkeley, Jesse Arreguín, who has been refusing to do a ceasefire resolution, goes on trips to Israel, tons more, and we're expecting, he literally had there was this Zionist who was also a major real estate developer who did a fundraiser at the dude's house in Piedmont a few months ago. We expect he's going to be trying to court AIPAC money. I would not be surprised to see similar stuff with AIPAC and similar Zionist groups trying to take out the Berkeley Rent Board and the Richmond City Council, which have stood up for Palestine. So I think those are things where we have to be worried about, where people have stood up for human rights and for the humanity of Gazans and said, we cannot keep giving, you know, military aid for this, and we need to be worried about them trying to spend money to punish them.
Great, and I assume that we're all in it for Javanka Beckles, right? So we want to make sure Javanka gets. We've endorsed Javanka Beckles, and you know, it probably will come down to a Jesse Javanka showdown this fall. So let's make sure that Javanka gets to the runoff. But absolutely on that.
And yes, and even if it's not Javanka, about making sure that he's not able to use that to beat whoever he's going against.
Okay.
Don't jinx it, Matthew. But we do need to really come out in force for Javanka, because one of the other candidates was just dropped $1.5 million for her campaign. This is someone who has no, legislative track record, is not known in the community, is not part of the community, So anyways, we need to get the vote out for her.
Okay, we're going to move on, folks. Guess what? Greg Hodge has arrived.
Oh, wonderful.
So we're going to be able to interview our final guest for tonight, and then we'll move into the part where people can make announcements. And we have a couple other minor things also. Anyway, Susana, would you like to introduce him, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Greg, I don't know what country you're in, but he's 11 hours ahead of us, so it's some ungodly hour in the morning there. Anyway, so Greg is extremely well known in the Alameda County community. He's worked with a wide range of nonprofits and foundations, several of which he has been the executive director for. He recently ran for office in Oakland, and he is an attorney in a private practice in his other part of his life. He's worked a lot with African-American youth, and a wide variety of things in Alameda County and his community. So Greg, I will let you tell us what you are running for and why we should vote for you and endorse you.
Susana, thank you so much for the grace and the patience for being able to make this happen. For folks who don't know, I'm actually in Ethiopia and have been here with a group of family and friends, and this is a trip that got planned long before Keith Carson decided not to run. And so this is a really important race. It's interesting that most of us have not had a chance to really get our legs up under us fully because of the holiday season and all that. But I think it's historic, one, because this seat has traditionally been an African-American seat. And by that, I mean, in the same way that Supervisor Wilma Chan's untimely passing created a space for Lena Tam, and that seat had always been viewed essentially as an Asian American seat. This seat goes all the way back to John George. 1976, John George was the first African American elected to the Board of Supervisors. The reason that's important to me is that because of the voice of African American leadership in this community, and that leadership always works with everybody. We always care about progressive values when we're at our best. It's a strategic moment to look at, how we think about transformation of the County Board of Supervisors. This is a moment where possibly we could have a new person in Jennifer Easting, Lena Tam, Elisa Marquez, and there's a different energy that could be created with this board. One of the reasons I'm running is because during the pandemic, I helped organize a group of African-American organizations called the African-American Response Circle. And what we did was, in response to the pandemic, in April of 20, or almost like the moment the pandemic started, we began to be concerned about the disparities in terms of who was going to get sickest and who was going to be hospitalized and ultimately die from the COVID virus. And so we put together a group of about 25, almost 40 organizations that then said, let's raise money, let's raise awareness, let's make sure that our community understands what's going on. We then went with a group of cross-race, a very diverse group of folks that included Resilient Fruitvale, about 30 organizations in the Fruitvale neighborhood, Healthy Havens Court, which represented parts of East Oakland, and AAPI Unite, which was a new formation of Asian Pacific Islander folks, and basically said to the county, you should provide us, our communities collectively, with $200 million for universal basic income, for rental assistance, for all of the things that were really critical during the pandemic. And it kind of fell on deaf ears. The only person who actually met with us, and this was kind of timely, that it was Wilma Chan the week before she passed, met with us and said, let's see what we can do. So I think that there's a leadership moment. And for all of the good work that Keith Carson did, this is an opportunity for the cities to work on housing issues. All of the cities that are part of this District 5 race, it's really critical. It's Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville, North Oakland, West Oakland, parts of the near the lake. And the homelessness issues, that we talked about during the campaign for mayor still persist. Public safety is a huge issue that most of us care a lot about. The unfortunate passing of, or the killing of Tran Le, the Asian American police officer who died in service to the community. All of the things that we're looking at, this notion of a state of emergency, all of what is happening, with public safety in Oakland is important. And third, mental health issues and and overall wellness. Again, coming out of the pandemic, a lot of our young people are dealing with anxiety and social isolation. The county has significant resources to deal with these issues. The last thing I'll say about this is that during those conversations that we had with the county board to convince them, the county sits on a $2 billion reserve at a time when, people are hungry, people are unhoused, people are suffering in so many ways, and it just is really unconscionable that those resources are sitting in a reserve, to preserve the credit rating on the county. So I think that I have the skills and experience as a consensus builder. I served on the Oakland Board of Education for 8 years and got my chops there in terms of policy work. And I think I have a certain temperament to bring to bear on the issues that would really help us move forward with the county. And so I'm really looking forward to your endorsement. You endorsed me mutually with Shane Powell and Alyssa Victory during the mayoral race, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Great. Thank you, Greg. And thank you for making the superhuman effort to be here. We have two questions that we're asking all of the candidates. The first one is, who are you supporting in the U.S. Senate race?
I'm supporting Barbara Lee. Barbara has been a champion for us in this community for years. I think that she would make an excellent senator. And by the way, I support Latifah Simon to fill the congressional seat that Barbara's leaving vacant.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then are you supporting a ceasefire in Gaza/Palestine?
Absolutely. I think that not only a ceasefire, but in my opinion, end of the occupation that the Israeli government has pursued for 78 years. I think that what we used to talk about as a two-state solution made a lot of sense. It was during the Carter era. I'm old enough to remember that stuff. I started following politics back then.
Same here.
And I think that, it's really important to bring a real solution. My heart is breaking when I look at Palestinian children and the powerful messages that a lot of those kids can give about their community and who they are. I can distinguish, it's easy for me to distinguish between the people of Israel, the people of Palestine, versus the governments and others who say they represent the interests of those people. So as you say, over 22,000 dead in Gaza. Not to mention all of the trauma that's happened over the last 78 years for people who have been incarcerated, young people who have been incarcerated with no charges being brought. If this were happening anywhere else in the world, we would not tolerate it. And I just think that this is a moment in human history that we have to take a stand, that we have to do better. And I get that it's a complex issue, and I get that there's a notion that if you've been a victim, that you don't want to be victim again. And when I reference the Holocaust, but this is not an excuse. At this point, there's got to be an international effort to bring a real solution to that region before it turns into a global conflict.
Great. Thank you so much. Could not agree more. Does anybody have any questions for Greg? I'm not seeing any hands up. Going once, twice.
Just a minute.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Cheri.
Yeah, just the same sort of thing. You brought up consensus building. And unfortunately, the Board of Supervisors has had a reputation of being rather conservative and not necessarily having values that align with our revolution or with progressives. So what do you think you bring to the table if you're elected supervisor to get some of the programs for the values of housing and taking care of homelessness and some of the things? How would you enact some of those values?
Yeah, I think that, Cheri, I think that one of the things I bring to this is a 20-year experience as a facilitator. I've been a professional facilitator for years. We've learned how to create consensus in situations where consensus didn't seem possible. And so I think the thing that distinguishes me from the other folks that you may have spoken with today, and they're all fine people. You know, I don't have a personal beef with Nikki or with Ben. I think that, you know, frankly, I want Nikki to be successful as a city council person in Oakland because, you know, God knows we need it. But I think that the ability to really listen to people, to hear all sides of an argument, as an attorney, I work to win arguments, but as a facilitator, I've learned how to build common ground. And I think that notion of building common ground on the big issues that matter are going to be really important. And I think that conservatism that we've seen with the County Board of Supervisors over the years, I think that honestly, this county administrator seems to run the county more so than the actual Board of Supervisor members. I think there's a role for members to stand up and be on the right side of all these issues. When I think about housing issues, I think that we can do a much better job with things like what Bartlett proposed in terms of a rental assistance and home buyer program with $500 million being invested by the county. I think that there's a way that we need to work across the region with AIPAC and other regional efforts to deal with housing. Housing is a statewide issue, but it has a regional feel to it. So anyway, I think that there's a opportunity for us with this new set of players. Again, if Jennifer beats Nate in this race, I've supported Jennifer and I've known Nate for a long time, but I just think that there is time for some new blood and some new energy. And some courage, frankly, to make some hard decisions that we can go forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Sorry, I dropped your campaign info in chat because I know you're, probably having connectivity issues. So it is in our chat.
Well,
Hey, Carol, can I go next?
Well, kind of, Wakean wanted to go next.
Oh.
Kate Harrison, I think, wanted to say something also about the same thing, and she needs to leave.
Okay, but my thing is really important and I want to do it before we end this meeting. It's
yeah,
really important and
yeah,
I never exercise privilege.
Yeah, I already told Kate, so if Kate and Wakean, Kate could say a little bit and then she needs to get out of here, and then Wakean is gonna continue on an update. For those of you who don't know, parts of Berkeley are under police control right now. I won't say more. Welcome, Kate.
Yeah, thank you. To those that, continually comment on Facebook and Twitter that this is about some rematch of the hippies versus YIMBY debate, I think it's the most ridiculous way that it's been talked about that I've ever seen. This is about international capital, UC, not having funds and not making available funds to build student housing, and therefore turning to private entities to build housing through these public-private partnerships, and our city using our police resources helping them to do so. My big focus has been on the amount of money that's been spent and the amount of abrogation of people's civil rights in the police action that took place during this last week. It wasn't just the park that was blocked off. Blocks several blocks away from People's Park were blocked by Berkeley police and Berkeley police control officers, parking control officers. People were told they could not go into on foot their own area where they live without a police escort. There was one academic who had just moved here and didn't have any ID to prove he lived here, and he was not allowed to leave his apartment. We're looking at serious police measures here that were unnecessary. This entire thing is unnecessary as the case is still in the before the Supreme Court. But beyond that, I'm really focused on the city's role and how we collaborated with UC in a way that I think is really unfortunate and very expensive and really leaves a bad taste in our mouths about what our city's role is in supporting UC. We are not supposed to support the UC police when they use tear gas. And the first thing they did when protesters arrived at the park was say that they were going to use tear gas if they did not disperse. We have a statute saying we don't provide mutual aid, and there we are manning these barricades. And when I ask about that, I'm told, oh, we're manning those barricades to protect Berkeley. No, we're manning those barricades to keep people from going into UC's property. We are assisting UC. And that in that case, we are providing mutual aid and we are breaking our local law. We also towed people's cars that were without 72-hour notice. We, as I said, prevented people from going in the area on foot, which is illegal. You cannot ask pedestrians for ID to enter an area. Only drivers can be asked. And there have been several successful cases of people being sued over this. So I can't even begin with the number of violations. The city offered them a sidewalk permit, which is normally for just a fence, when in fact it's an encroachment permit, which would have required 10 days notice. And they did that because, quote, UC did not want people to know that this was happening. So that's really the situation we're facing right now, is our city being hand people to UC in a way that I think is just not correct. We have stepped outside of where we should be. So I wanted to make those comments. Happy to take questions, and then I really should go. But if there are any quick questions, I have a few minutes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate, so much for that information. And thank you so much for acknowledging the shenanigans the city has been pulling in support of the university. And I'm so appreciative that you're bringing this up. It's a very basic question. Was this all done with the approval of the city manager and thus the approval of the mayor? Do you know?
The city manager approved the sidewalk permit, yes. And unfortunately, we were not asked as a council, but I will just say I think it is highly unlikely she would have moved ahead without the mayor's approval. And as you've seen from his posts, he's indicated that, you know, it's a new day. We should just forget about the 60s. All of you were living in the past and it's time to move on. I think all that is irrelevant. This housing built by UC, by the way, is not affordable. Students are in incredible debt when they rent this housing. And UC has reduced the student faculty ratio significantly. A lot of this relates to the fact they built the stadium and went into enormous amounts of debt and don't have money now, which is, you know, on them, essentially. Part of it is also Prop 13, though, because we do not pay enough taxes to help support higher education in California. So more and more money is coming from private interests. But yes, the city manager approved the sidewalk permit. I think they thought no one would notice. I saw this permit on our public portal. I began a conversation with her about, first of all, it's not a sidewalk permit for many legal reasons I won't bore you all with. That is not the correct category, and it's very obvious from the application that it's true. But they were bound and determined to go ahead, no matter what. UC brought in 1,400 officers. If you think about, $137 an hour fully loaded for a CHP officer, 100 hours, 1,400. We're looking at over $30 million spent between the police costs, feeding them, et cetera. And a large chunk of that is
Who pays that?
Well, this is the other thing. By saying we're not providing mutual aid to UC because we're protecting our streets by being at the barricades, so we're protecting Dwight Way, we do not get reimbursed by UC. So our entire costs, and I have not gotten a calculation of that, are not going to be reimbursed because it's not mutual aid because we're protecting the city. I'm like, you're protecting a barricade to go into university property. How is that protecting the city? How does that logic even make any sense whatsoever? So we're being harmed financially, we're being harmed reputationally. We should never have withdrawn from the case. And I'm really, just concerned we've headed in a really, really terrible direction.
And can I do one more follow-up? Earlier last year, they cut down a bunch of trees. So I have been informed that because those trees that were not supposed to get cut were cut. And so now certain funding for affordable housing has been removed. So that affordable housing that was supposed to go there is now not happening, correct?
That is correct. When they cut down the trees, they violated the federal NEPA law, and therefore the nonprofit, which was reliant on federal funding to build the affordable housing for homeless people, withdrew from the project. And in lieu of that, the city and UC are paying to house these people at hotels. So that's another cost to the city. There will not be affordable housing there at this moment unless they find another source for that. In addition, when they went into the park this time, they didn't just put up a fence and then leave it. They went in and graded the entire thing. They took out all the plantings, all the trees. They laid ground rock. They have started construction, even though it's at the Supreme Court right now, whether they can move ahead with construction. And they just went ahead, basically. So and
State Supreme
there's
Court
no
or-
end of telling you how many things are wrong with this.
Is that state Supreme Court or the federal Supreme Court?
State Supreme Court.
Which
you,
one?
Kate.
Which Supreme Court, please?
State Supreme
State,
Court.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood this situation and how truly heartbreaking it is.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming and talking about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I see what I see in the Berkeley side and the other things, and then I get reports from Wakean MacLean, who is on our board, and I had asked him if he would come and talk about it a little, so he can talk a little bit about what was actually happening while he was there.
Mm-hmm.
You
And there was police violence as well, but unfortunately I have to go. He can probably tell you more about
Yeah.
what.
Okay. Thank you,
Kate. Your time. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Kate. Okay, Wakean, can you wrap up a little bit about your experience there?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought that was from Kate was a very good explication. I'm not even a Berkeley resident, but I'm 2 blocks from Berkeley. And, you know, I've followed the People's Park thing for decades. My wife was part of that protest back in '69. And when they called in the National Guard and shot people with buckshot and killed a person. And this was, you know, more of the same when they just come in at 1 in the morning with their super bulldozers and cut down all the trees and put up the double-decker cargo containers. And, you know, it was sort of an obscene operation. And I went up there with, you know, my gas mask because I expected them to, and, you know, it looked like they were ready to do it. The SWAT team or whatever you call them. Anyway, I think people need to go online to the peoplespark.org, or even better, there's a site called People's Park HXDIST.org. That's People's Park HXDIST, like district.org. And a lot more explanation there. And I think what I've heard is that the Chancellor, I think it was Carol Chris, has a thing about getting rid of People's Park, sort of a weird obsession, you might say, and that's her mission. And the university is going ahead and doing their dirty work. The Supreme Court may take 3 or 4 more months to come to any decision about what's applicable, but or what's allowable or what's not. There are several other sites. One is only a block and a half away that could be used for student housing, which is needed. But one of my good friends spent the night there and has spent a lot of time at People's Park, younger friend. He says it's not realistic to have 1,100, you know, dorm, I think it's a 12-story building, which would totally shade the park too. 12-story building on half the park, and then have 100 beds for homeless right in the same area. It's just not compatible, and probably is just a joke. And the university and the city have not really, over the years, helped People's Park to become more of a thriving neighborhood resource. But it has a lot of kind of music and poetry and culture events there. They had volleyball, midnight basketball. There's been a lot of food not bombs showing up. There's been a lot of positive stuff, but of course the negative stuff gets, the first place on the media. And I think there was a survey, I'm told, that the crime in that park compared to the surrounding area was actually less than the average crime rate, whatever. So anyway, that's all I can say is that people should check out our website, peoplespark.org or peoplesparkhxdistrict.org, and try to show up and don't let the tax squads and the militarized police scare you away. So, okay.
Great,
Oh.
thank you. I know Wakean got up at 3 o'clock in the morning when he got news that the invasion had begun, and he went down there.
Yes, and get yourself a gas mask, because that's maybe what we're facing.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have a comment? We got to move along, so if they don't, that's okay. Tom?
Could Joaquin give that other website address again? I couldn't get it down quick enough.
Yeah, just People's Park HX DIST.org.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Wakean. Okay, we have two more things.
Could I just add one?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been getting up early in the morning lately. I went with Code Pink at 3 in the morning up to Travis Air Force Base to try to shut down their sending munitions to Israel. So, yeah, you got to get on a different schedule these days, I think.
Okay, our next thing is going to be Susana is going to talk about the demonstration coming up in DC. And Denton Gordon is going to give a 2-minute thing on Port Chicago, and then it'll be an open mic for 1 minute for anybody who wants to speak. Okay, go for it.
All right, thanks, Carol. I know I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but there was a March on Washington for Palestine in November. It was the largest march ever held for Palestine. It was about 500 million people. On January 13th, coming up this coming Saturday, there is a second March on Washington. This one is going to be far larger. Ina Silva and I are making the trek out to DC on Friday. We will be there, proud as can be to be there, trying to literally do anything we can to stop the slaughter that's happening in Palestine. We're trying to get our Rev group together. There are other people from the Bay Area going. So if anybody is going or knows anybody going, I'll put my my email account in chat, and please have them connect with me. We're going to try to connect to DC. Ina and I are getting in on Friday. I requested a meeting with Bernie Sanders while I'm there. I have no idea if that'll happen, but hey, I did it. I figured I'm in town. I might as well try to do some other good. Again, probably preaching to the choir here, and I know some people put some stats in chat. If you're counting the people under the rubble, we're at about 30,000 dead in Palestine right now. 70% of them are women and children. There's about 60,000 injuries, and these aren't Band-Aid boo-boo injuries. There is literally no medical supplies left. There was one doctor who was literally going homeschool remedies with vinegar for something that a patient had going on. Israel is not letting any aid other than limited food and water in. They are literally taking stuff off of aid trucks. I've heard a lot of reports from experts that say even if we stop this conflict today and got immediate aid, everything they needed, 1/4 of the population in Gaza will die anyway. That is 500,000 people, folks. This is insane. If you do not know, I'm basically putting all my hopes on what is happening on Thursday and Friday. South Africa invoked the Genocide Convention in the World's Court. This is not the UN. This is not the International Criminal Court. This is the big gun. This is the court where the United States doesn't really have any sway. The proof is there. They've asked for immediate action to be taken, which is to stop the slaughter, stop the occupation, let independent people in to gather evidence, etc. That I've listened to a bunch of experts say that that could happen within a week. They could rule on that. I haven't heard anybody say that South Africa has not put together a huge case. Israel has quite frankly helped them with all the genocide incitement statements that they have made. The army has helped them with all of their not fun little TikTok videos. I already posted the flyer in chat for DC. There is a corresponding march in San Francisco. I will post the flyer for that. It's happening on the 13th as well. They are also looking for volunteers, so if anybody wants to help out, I will post the link for all of the information with the International Court of Justice. It will be live streamed. The time difference makes it, and please double check the time difference because I suck at time differences sometimes, but it looks like it is midnight. It's a 2-hour time period for South Africa. Will happen midnight Pacific time on Wednesday, which will be Thursday, Netherlands time. And then on Friday, Israel gets a 2-hour window to present their case about why this petition should not be granted. So I'll drop that link. You can follow all that information on. You can get the live stream information from there. So anyway, so 2 of your board members are heading out to DC. Seriously, like anything you want us to do while we're out there. I am literally open to any suggestions. I've tried everything that I know of to help the Palestinians. So without that, anybody have any questions? Back to you, Carol.
Okay, wait, I think Joaquin had a question.
Oh, he does? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Joaquin, I
I'm
didn't
not
see you.
sure. Do you have a question, Joaquin? If you do, unmute.
Yeah, you need to unmute.
Oh, can we get Our Revolution to endorse this? I read the whole list of endorsers, but I didn't see Our Revolution.
Are you talking about national?
Yeah, both local and national. Yeah.
I did ask Mike about that. We chatted on the phone a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about maybe getting our Rev group together since it seems like a lot of people are coming in town. So I don't know, Mike, any updates on that?
I ran it through up the chain of leadership. There's interest in doing it. So we'll follow up on Monday. See what's going on.
Awesome, thank you. And then are you going to be in DC, Mike, on Friday or Saturday?
I'm not sure yet. But hope let's talk offline and see if we can get
like connect me with whoever I should connect with. Okay, perfect. Raphael, you had a question?
Yeah, I've just got a quick question. Assuming the ICJ does a ruling in favor of South Africa against Israel, who enforces the ruling?
Yeah, that's a tricky part. The International Criminal Court and then, well, actually, it's the UN Security Council that would enforce that. This court has a lot more sway and a lot more teeth in their rulings. I frankly, personally, and believe you, I'm no expert in this, becoming one. We're seeing more countries come on board. We're seeing more countries start to distance themselves. The United States is even distancing himself with putting out a statement that said, oh, the United States does not support the Palestinians being displaced or moved anywhere, right? The UK did the same thing. So there's a lot of CYA stuff starting to happen. I'm a little disappointed more countries haven't come on board. Turkey, Malaysia, Jordan have supported this petition. Chile, a whole group of attorneys in Chile are suing through the International Criminal Court, which doesn't have as much bite as the Justice Court. The Justice Court is who prosecuted the Bosnia situation, Rwanda situation, all of those genocides since the Holocaust, and it was created after the Holocaust as a direct result of that happening. Does that sort of answer your question?
Susana, I think that's a bit incorrect. The International Court of Justice is only between suits from one state against another state.
Correct.
And this is the reason why. And normally they only actually have jurisdiction if a state voluntarily agrees to it. And the only reason why Israel is actually stuck being subjected to this is because they signed the Genocide Convention in the 1940s, which assigns the ICJ with jurisdiction.
Right.
So it's not the same court as the.
Yeah, you're correct in that. This is why Chile is suing in the International Criminal Court, not in the other court, is because it is a group of individuals suing Israel. So that's the difference of the court. It's really confusing. Google it, look it up. I am no expert. I just sort of had to educate myself, so I wasn't out there like telling people the wrong thing. This is probably the least biased and strongest chance that we have of world pressure making Israel stop this. Once that genocide convention was invoked, anyone who was a signatory to that 1948 convention is now put on notice that a genocide is plausibly happening, and anyone who contributes to that, a la the United States sending more money in arms, the UK sending arms, should this roll out the way that it should, then they have left themselves open to being held accountable, which is probably why you're starting to see some of this distancing going on. Blinken is not being met with anything remotely open arms. Turkey officials completely dissed him at the airport. They sent no high-level people. Jordan, the king of Jordan, flat out told him, hey, you need a ceasefire. So, you know, they're trying to get the Arab countries to get on board, but fortunately they're saying no, which is good. But yeah, I'm not real happy with my government right now. And if y'all can't tell, and any of you connect with me on social media, I basically dropped a lucrative consulting contract, and this is all I've been doing.
Okay. Thank you, Susana. Thank you for doing this too, going there. I haven't been to a DC protest in, God, 40, 50 years. It's been a while. Okay, so let me see. Gordon, you were going to speak very shortly on the Port Chicago. Can that be at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I reposted or not reposted, but I posted a link about a fact sheet about AB 83, getting foreign money out of California politics. I guess we can return to Netwit Yahoo and Gaza.
Okay, so we've actually gone through our whole thing. So what we do is the very last thing, anybody who is here and maybe doesn't know anybody, if they want to just introduce themselves for 30 seconds, or if somebody would like to make an announcement about something, it's kind of open mic for that. Okay, we'll start with Amy, and then Cordell, and then Laurel. I may be saying the name wrong. Okay, Amy?
Yes, hello, thanks for having me. We got fantastic news from San Francisco. Bianca Bonprix, the first transgender candidate to the U.S. House of Representatives, will most likely be taking Nancy Pelosi to the general election. This is huge. It looks like because Republicans in San Francisco didn't get their normal guy, they're going to be shadow endorsing us in addition to the progressives. And local progressive groups are fuming that Pelosi has the temerity to run again in light of Biden and Feinstein. We're looking to sign up volunteers and donors. We hire at-risk BIPOC youth and train them. Every $500 means that we can train 25 kids for one Saturday. We're also going to be, Bianca is also going to be on KPFX 90.7 in Los Angeles on the January 12th at 9:30 a.m. talking about progressive issues in the campaign. There's a link to it if you're from outside of the area. You know, I know you're not in the district, but if you got a mind and a mouth, you can tell people about us. She's literally buying support from unions and LGBT groups. It's an affront to all of them. So, you know, please talk to them. You know, call up Pelosi's office and urge her to withdraw from the election, as many Democrats are doing. Okay, I mean, even if you're a Pelosi supporter, nobody wants to see a Feinstein incident happen and have somebody turn to a vegetable in front of the nation. So again, we appreciate your time. We have our links in the chat, Bianca for sanfrancisco.org. This is going to be an historical campaign, and we encourage all of you to get involved. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And I noticed it was in the chat quite a while ago. If you want to stick it in again right now, that would be great.
Can do, thank you.
Okay, Cordell. Hi, Cordell.
Yes, can you hear me, Carol?
I can.
Yeah, so I just put one announcement in the chat, but I do have a public announcement to share with the group. So you are cordially invited to attend the El Cerrito Chamber of Commerce luncheon on January 24th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Los Moles, and it's $27 a person. So there's going to be guacamole and burritos too, and some water. So I will let Carol read the other announcement. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Laurel, am I saying your name right?
Yes, Laurel, thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to quickly introduce myself because I am also running for Alameda County Board of Supervisors District 5. I am a working mom. I'm a 20-year resident of Alameda County. I'm an Army veteran, a patent attorney, and a public policy data scientist. I'm running to enact policies that increase affordable housing and support our disadvantaged communities using data-driven policies that actually help the people in the communities they purport to serve. I've been a decade-long organizer with the League of Women Voters. My platform is consistent with what our revolution stands for, and more information is available on my website, which is Laurel for BOS.com, and I'll post it in chat. I'm working with community members in every precinct, and I would love to have your support moving forward. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Matthew? Keep it short, Matthew. We're getting late on time.
Yes, so two things. One is that there are a few more ballot measures in the East Bay on the March ballot, like some in Oakland, for instance, and one statewide one. And I hope that at our next meeting, we can take up those for considering them for an endorsement, just like we're doing with the.
Okay, why don't you and I talk about it? And maybe we can have you present those.
Great, yes. And then the other thing was just at future meetings, I hope moving forward we can adopt one small change to how we do our endorsement process and send out the endorsement questionnaires to the membership before the meeting so that we all have a chance to look at that and help know what our questions are so that like, you know, so that we know like, oh, here's the thing that I find concerning and we know about that before the candidate comes so we can ask them about it instead of only learning after they've already spoken. So yeah,
I would like to say that's a good idea, but many of these we got last night and today.
Yeah, so I don't have all the logistics of how we do it, but yeah, I just hope we can make that change in the future.
Okay, anybody else have their hand up that we haven't heard from? Okay, we did it. Stop recording.